Welcome, my friends, to the showdown between the Tomb Kings, who shall be led by the High Queen KHALIDA atop her Mighty Snake, and Hargoneth, who's going to be helmed by the Crone Hellebron atop her Manticore. So as far as the build goes, we're going to be going for a hardcore missile build, and there's actually pretty nice synergy with KHALIDA. So KHALIDA is a little bit of an off-meta pick, so a lot of people actually don't even know she has this buff, but if you look at KHALIDA, she does indeed have the Blessing of Asaf. So all nearby missile units, or units in general, but it's only of course going to affect missile units, are going to be getting 50% missile damage, which is very substantial on some of these like high DPS units, right? 15% on the Chosen of the Gods with their 120, or it's 123 now, but I think it's like 115 base or something like that. But nonetheless, it's really going to juice up the stats of these big targets. 15% of the Bone Giant's DPS is also quite substantial, considering he starts with over 600 missile damage, so it should be pretty good. But on top of that, KHALIDA does give a couple other buffs, so let's go ahead and take a look here. She does give the reload skill, which is a blind stat, so unfortunately it's something we can't see. I really wish we could see like the reload skill of different units and like how fast they reload, but you can see it on the back end of, I think if you look at like the back end files. But on top of that, she does give 15% armor piercing damage, which is pertinent in the Dark Elf matchup and many other matchups. So KHALIDA is going to be just kind of bodyguarding this, guys. Now, KHALIDA herself is a pretty good duelist, 65, 60, and 450 with a good HP pool, great abilities with Tomb Strike, and she does also have some sort of a curse and an AoE blast against infantry with the Venom Wave. So KHALIDA is a decent lord, and honestly, most of the Tomb King's lords are pretty good. Even Grandpa Kotzep on his Roomba, as much of a meme as he has been in the past, isn't a bad lord. He does, of course, have a really good range. He gives wins of magic regeneration. He has a free vortex ability, and more importantly, he has a really good staff that adds to the ability cooldowns of the other faction. But anyways, I digress. So KHALIDA is going to be buffing the missile units here, and hopefully they'll be able to drop some sweet thunder. Now, if you're going to be going with a missile build like this, obviously you're going to be a little bit weak in other areas. This is a huge investment right here. So you can see you need to have a couple distraction Carnifexes out here running interference, slowing your opponent down, allowing your missiles to get a lot of damage done before they get encroached upon by the Dark Elf forces. So we have two chariots here. Chariots are going to be going in there pretty balls deep. I'm pretty much resigned to the fact that they're going to be sacrificed. Probably not going to be surviving the initial charge for terribly long, but more importantly, if they slow down my opponent's advance, they've done their job. On top of that, I have Nehekar Horsemen, two groups of those guys, pretty good against Dark Riders and Repeater Crossbows, and, you know, they have good enough combat stats to fight against Cold One Knights. Yeah, they'll lose pretty badly because of the anti-large and the armor, but they're a pretty good unit. I really do like Nehekar Horsemen. I think they're incredibly cost-effective. In the back, we have four groups of Skeleton Spears, and that is pretty much it. So for my opponent's army, he does have Crone Hellebron, so coming in with a very odd pick. Nonetheless, she has good AP, she has a bonus for infantry, she can certainly fight constructs, and she does, of course, have some good combat abilities with the Gaze of Cain, I think is what it's called, which buffs all the troops. She does also have the Blackheart Corsairs here in the front line, and the Blades of the Blood Queen, so going a little bit elite on the infantry. Now, this is something I don't think is terribly necessary. Against Tomb Kings, usually things like Black Arcs, or even like your chaff level infantry will do okay, but I guess a lot of Tomb Kings players do come in with, like, let's say, you know, Tomb Guard, and obviously the Blackheart Corsairs. I don't know how they would do straight head-to-head against Tomb Guard, but I feel like they would probably lose just because their combat stats are so much lower, but Blades of the Blood Queen do bring some AP to the battlefield as well, so if there are Ushabti and things like that, much like Black Orcs, they will do a good job. He does have a Sorceress with Shadows here in the back, who's going to be having Enfeebling Foe, Melkos, and Occam's Mindrazor. He does have some Witch Elves, which are an incredibly good pick. If I come in with Chariots or any other sort of harass, these guys are going to be able to rampage them and really butter some bread. He's got Spears on the flanks, two groups of Cold One Knights, which are going to be great. Anti-large, AP, very good against constructs. It's a pretty well-balanced army, to be honest. He has some halberds in the back and two groups of Dark Shards with shields, which the shields I think are pretty good here because, of course, skeleton archers and things like that. But against Ushabtis, I think Ushabti's bows do count like artillery pieces, so I don't think these shields are going to be helping them there. But anyways, he does get a little bit more melee defense. So let's get this show on the road and see how it goes. So firstly, like I said, running interference is going to be extremely important. So we're going to be coming in pretty balls deep here. Car warriors or horsemen are going to be charging into these guys. Obviously not doing a ton of damage, but we're just going to be trying to get in as aggressively as we can. These chariots are going to be sweeping in. We're sweeping in from all angles and doing huge damage. Back here, we actually really wrecked those Witch Elves. Granted, we're going to be paying the iron price and probably getting rampaged. And over here, we are getting into the backline of the Dark Shards as well. But more importantly, we're distracting his force and slowing down his advance. And look how quickly we evaporated those Cold One Knights. Those guys just got destroyed by the missile pressure of the High Queen KHALIDA. All these buffed up units, of course, doing some very good damage. And you can see that's why I'm actually in a very tight formation with all of them, is to make sure I get that aura of influence. I do also have a Lich Priest of Nehekara who does give some pretty good missile buffs, and he also has the Faz Incantation of Protection and all the other basic ones. So the bow attacks, we're going to be going after the mobile units. Obviously, if I have to kite and fight, Ushabti are relatively fast. These bad boys do have 54 speed, so if I need to pull back, I want to kill all of his range units, or his cav units, I should say, to make sure I can pull back with impunity. In the meantime, the Chariots and Nehekar Horsemen on one side were able to survive. It was the side where the Witch Elves weren't as heavily layered, so these guys are going to be hunting down these bowmen in the back and hopefully doing some pretty good damage. So we're going to be getting into those archers. Dark Shards, again, are another pretty good choice against my bow constructs, so I really want to make sure I get those guys down. Now, the Dark Elf forces are finally encroaching on my territory, and obviously it's going to be a pretty one-sided fight in the infantry fight. You can see here the skeleton spearmen are in pretty good health, of course. They haven't really fought yet, but once they fight the Blades of the Blood Queen, they're going to be going down rather quickly. So the spearmen are going to be pulling up, and I will be pulling back my Ushapti here in just a moment. But of course, we're going to be focusing all of our resources to try and finish off the Cold One Knights. So the Cold One Knights, like I said, if, for example, I was kiting backwards, I needed to get away from his infantry, and the Cold One Knights were able to get into the back line and chase down my Ushapti Great Bows, they would not only pressure me, they're faster, but of course they have anti-large and AP, both of which are very necessary to kill Ushapti Great Bows. Now in the main fight, we do have the fights between the Blades of the Blood Queen and these infantry, and you can see my horsemen are going to be riding around having a good old jolly time, but the Dark Elves are starting to stabilize the back line a little bit. Now, yes, I am ahead on the Bounce of Power, but that's pretty much guaranteed with this type of a build. Where you're then going to have problems is once they close the distance and start to grind down your troops. So the Blades of the Blood Queen here are going to be mulching through my skeleton spears. They're already up to 44 kills. It's only a matter of time before these bony boys do go down. And the bowman in the back, the great bowman, the bone giant, is going to be dropping some hot fire here into the front line, still targeting those Cold One Knights. And from here, we will be switching our focus fire onto the Cold One Knights that are going to be coming in. It's only 12 models, but nonetheless, it's still pretty important we take those guys out. So Cold One Knights are going to be rampaging, thankfully, into the spearmen, which is quite nice. And now the boner giant is going to be shooting downtown into the High Queen Crone Helibron, into Crone Helibron. And he does have the Petra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting. His missile damage is now 956. So again, you get the multiplier from Petra's, the 40% plus KHALIDA's buffs. This guy's going to be hitting like an absolute beast. So he gets a pretty nice little shot right there. Is able to hit KHALIDA and do like 800 damage, which is really good. And it also got a little bit of splash, it looks like, on the Witch Elves. But in the back, it looks like the Dark Elves are able to stabilize and kill the Nehekar Horsemen. Although there are some spears kind of trundling in the background. These guys are going to be chasing these Dark Shards potentially off the battlefield, which could be quite nice. Now, Blades of the Blood Queen are able to break through the front line and do a ton of damage against my Lich Priest. So these guys probably are going to be chasing. So at this point, I need to fall back. I'm pulling back with all my Chosen of the Gods, all my troops here. There's still a very healthy group of the Blackguard and Aggron. These guys are going to be tough to kill as well. Now, KHALIDA is useful here. She does have the Tomb Strike. And are they immune to Psychology? They are immune to Psychology, which is definitely quite nice. But of course, this guy does have pretty good stats when you pop that. So we're going to be pulling back, trying to intercept with the Skeleton Spears. The Snake Lady is going to be getting in there on her Sneaky Snake and surfing all over these guys. But we're going to be doing some good work. And if we can hold them in place, the Ushapti Great Bows and these other troops can just pull them apart. So I keep trying to attack them in the back, slowing them down, poisoning them with KHALIDA, and really trying to allow my Great Bows to get back and reset themselves. Now, High Queen, not the High Queen, god damn it, it's Crone Helibron. I mean, I guess she's like a queen of like Harganeth, right? I mean, I guess we could get away with that. But anyway, she's going to be attacking the Boner Giant. Now, the Boner Giant is a pretty powerful melee combatant. Now, his combat stats aren't the best. He's got 30 melee attack and 25 weapon strength, but his, or 35 or 25 melee defense. And his weapon strength, I think, is like, base is like 400 something. But again, Crone Helibron does, of course, have poison on Manticore here. So you can see the Bone Giant is kind of probably be losing that duel, especially with the assistance of the Witch Elves coming in. So the bounce power isn't my favorite, but again, if I lose the Bone Giant here, and if he's able to kind of have that inexorable advance of my forces here with the Blackheart Corsairs and the Spears, just kind of pushing up, and if I'm forced to run this entire time, I'm slowly just going to be losing troops, and that is going to be a tough situation. So realizing the dire circumstances of needing to keep these Ushapti Great Bows online, I will be using my Ushapti Summon in the back, and they're going to be piling in and beating down these Corsairs pretty badly. I also have some Skeleton Spears here who are going to be helping. High Queen KHALIDA on her Sneaky Snake, still chasing these guys down, trying to drop some of that sweet poison on the Blades of the Blood Queen. And I believe the Harganeth Executioners, or the Blackguard, I did actually focus those guys down pretty bad. So I didn't get to show you guys, but there was a heavy Last Samurai where all the Ushapti Great Bows just tore them to shreds. Now the Great Bows are going to be shooting up into the skies at the Crone Helibron, who does have the moves. She's kind of juking back and forth a little bit, doing some nice cycle charging here on the Boner Giant, which is going to be trying to run. Bounce of Power just ebbing in my favor here as the Ushapti Great Bows do really just pick apart these elite forces. You can see the Blades of the Blood Queen are going to be running for their lives. A massive torrent of, I wonder what their arrows are like made out of even, but not probably bone or something edgy like that. But it's going to be doing a ton of work. The Blades of the Blood Queen pretty much broken, and at this point, they're going to be a non-factor. So High Queen KHALIDA is going to be using her backline presence here to buff up the Ushapti Great Bows. These guys are going to keep pouring into this Dark Elf force. The Dark Elves still do have Crone Helibron, some Spears, Dark Shards, and it looks like some of the Witch Elves. Now, if the Witch Elves are able to get their paws on my forces, that could certainly be quite bad. Ushapti Summons are able to actually clean up those Blackheart Corsairs, which were pressuring my back line. And thankfully, I do have the Chosen of the Gods, who have really good splash damage, but alas, the Bone Giant is going to be going down. So I've lost the Bone Giant, which is a little bit tough. Blackguard are going to be surging in, but what's really cool about Ushapti Great Bows is they're basically normal Ushapti. They just don't have the bonus versus infantry, and their combat stats are a little bit different, but nonetheless, they're actually pretty good in melee. So KHALIDA is going to be going in on her Snake with her really good armor-piercing values, and we're probably going to be having a duel between KHALIDA and the Crone Helibron, it looks like, as she's kind of circling above. Now, KHALIDA's in a pretty good shape. Of course, she hasn't taken too much damage, but the Gaze of Cain is going to be going down. Heroic Killing Blow as well. KHALIDA is going to be dropping her AoE Poison. We're going to be coming in balls deep. Tomb Strike going down. We're going to be dropping Nero's Incantation of Protection to make her very, very tanky, and Cursed Blade. So right now, the Crone Helibron certainly in a bad situation. We got the Snake versus the Crone here. Looks like Kalida's kind of facing the wrong direction, but we're going to be... Oh my god! Crone Hellebron just got whipped off her mount right there by High Queen Khalida, and you can see the curse is going to be going down as well. So Crone Hellebron actually doing us a favor there in the fourth quarter, allowing the curse to proc on all of these infantry. The Ushabti Greatbows are going to be surging in, and there's certainly no slouches in melee. And you can see with that, the Dark Elf force is going to be getting pushed back, and that is going to be all she wrote for the Crone Hellebron and her forces. So certainly a very fun game. I'm trying to think if it's worth it to bring the Lich Priest. The Lich Priest was giving some pretty good buffs, and of course really juiced up Crone Hellebron at several points during the battle. But I have to wonder that bringing Lore of Light, using the nets, would be more effective with it. Because that was my biggest issue, right? When the backline gets pressured a little bit, for example, had he had a bunch of Dark Riders and backline tools, it would have been very tough to kind of protect against a swarming style army that was a little bit less elite. Like, for example, had he cut the Blackguard and the Blades of the Blood Queen and just brought like Corsairs and went wider with like Dark Riders and a lot more, kind of cav pressure, would I have been able to kind of stop that? And that's the question. Nets of Amtok would be very helpful in that situation. Granted, getting that extra missile damage is very saucy. I don't know if it's worth it because, again, the Bone Giant's going to be missing a lot of the time anyways, and it doesn't have the longest duration in the world. But I do like the fundamentals of the build. I feel like it's very fun. Using that to kind of pound down those elite targets, getting the buff from Khalida. Plus, yeah, man, that's so much fun with the Lich Priest, or with Netkara. I don't know. Hard to say there. Hard to say. The Bone Giant is something else you might honestly just want to cut. He does okay, but I think just getting another Ushabti Greatbow would probably honestly be better. The Ushabti Greatbows seem a little bit more accurate. They just are I don't know, they just have more utility. I really think they're probably just a better pick. But the Bone Giant is so cool. I feel like you kind of have to get him if you're going with a build like this. But as far as like a competitive evaluation of the build, I probably would cut the Bone Giant and just get more defensive elements. Like cut the Bone Giant, maybe get a couple Tomb Guard instead of Skeleton Spearmen to be a little bit more sustainable, get more some carry and to do some harass. I think something like that would probably be a little bit more well-rounded, and of course getting Lore of Light to kind of have better battlefield control. But aside from that, I think it was a fun build. And for my opponent's build, Crone Hellebron can be okay against Tomb Kings. I can certainly see her applications. The AoE damage from her Cursed Blade isn't bad, and of course, what did he bring? His caster for Shadows. Yeah, she got pounded really early by the missile fire, so we didn't get to see too much of that. I do like Dreadspears and Corsairs. I feel like they're pretty good. Corsairs having the armor values is going to make them better. I mean, they got kited for the most part this battle and just rode down by chariots, but I do think Corsairs are a decent pick. I don't think you need the Blades of the Blood Queen. Harganeth, or the Blackguard, yeah, I think they're not a bad choice. Like, having one of those guys just in case it's a construct-heavy build is a decent safeguard, but I think just cutting this guy and going a little bit wider with more backline harass would be a little bit more solid and kind of consistent. So, well played to my opponent, Relamo. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoy this Tomb Kings versus Harganeth showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.